Welcome to the Mighty Fuzz Podcast. Today we have the Unfiltered Podcast joining us, giving us an update on what's going on in New York City. John Macari, Eric Dim, welcome.
Oh, thanks for having us, brother. Pleasure to be here, fellow warrior. You know, been in this fight with us the whole time. Appreciate you for uplifting our voices. Appreciate you.
Dude, I got nothing but love for you, brother. I'm so happy to be here. I mean, we have great conversations. Every conversation we have could be a podcast alone. I mean, just the stuff that we agree and disagree and getting the people perspective, giving the police perspective. It's awesome, brother. I'm not kidding, man. I said it since day one. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say this every time I talk to you. From the first time you had a podcast with John, and I didn't know you yet. I said, man, I like that guy. I don't know him, but I like that guy. And it's come to fruition.
I appreciate that. And you guys taught me a lot, man. You know, I was telling you yesterday on the phone, we learned the theory, right? It's easy to learn the law, learn the theory, but we have to, apply it in real life. And you guys have shown me so much on the other side. And I honestly think it's just the beginning. I know John's been inviting me over to your podcast to go over looking at situations that are happening, because you guys do have the eye, and I see the craft in what police work does, and you guys taught me a lot. So I appreciate you guys. And right now we're going through such a live time in New York. What a time to live in New York. We're watching corruption at the upper echelons at the NYPD. Can we start on what exactly is happening, what you guys are seeing, and your opinion on what's happening in New York?
I'll take a stab at this one here. So I think that at this point, we're at a point where we have a lack of leadership in New York City, and that's where it's faulty, and it's really scary for the people of New York City, because the mayor is the focal point of leadership in the city, and we expect him to take extreme ownership for what's thriving or what's actually crumbling at this point. And I think that there's a shadow of doubt of what's going on in this cloud of suspicion. I do believe at this point the preponderance of evidence, just based on what we have, is indicative that we do have different levels and forms of corruption going on with New York City at the mayor level that's streamed into the New York City Police Department. At the top of the New York City Police Department, I want to express that and make that point apparent that John and I, on our podcast, we are very supportive of the rank and file. The rank and file of the New York City Police Department is doing what they're paid and trained to do, but unfortunately right now we have inept and inadequate leadership. There's a probe of corruption right now by the feds. They are innocent until proven guilty. But even with that, I do think it's an inadequate, inept leadership, and I do think we need an overhaul, and I hope we see that moving forward.
Yeah, so and just to piggyback on what Eric's saying, we've been relentlessly attacked by this administration, this mayoral administration, and his appointed officials in the upper echelon of the NYPD and other state, local politicians and other New York City agencies, heads of those agencies, and for really calling out everything that's kind of coming to fruition now. We've been saying these are low integrity people. Their appointments were very questionable. So it should be of no shock to anybody that knows New York City and New York City politics that these scandals are breaking. There's 3 different types of scandals that are happening right now. One's related to Eric Adams' campaign donations, foreign entities donating to his campaign, as well as illicit donations. A lot of questionable activities around that. At the same time, we're looking at top former NYPD who are now deputy mayors to New York City mayor. They're enthralled in a separate investigation where they're selling contracts, security contracts for these migrant shelters that encompass hundreds of millions of dollars. These people are very questionable in their integrity, their appointments. So this, again, doesn't shock anyone that they're being eyed in this. Now, like Eric said, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. And like the Eric Adams always says, where there's smoke, there's not always fire, but there's plumes of smoke. And then the third corruption investigation that's currently going on and being alleged is that the NYPD police commissioner, along with his twin brother, who actually has a taxpayer-funded NYPD security detail, had allegedly started a nightlife consulting firm. And what he's doing is he's supposedly doing what he's being alleged to have been doing is he's going around with the security detail and offering his consulting services. If you hire my security guards, if you pay me for consulting, you're never going to have a problem with the NYPD. And the New York Post has reported that not to be old school mafia style. And I see it the exact opposite way, that is 1000% old school mafia style, because there is an intimidation tactic as if you don't hire us, If you don't hire us, you're
We're
going to have a
coming.
problem with the NYPD.
Yeah, very familiar with all that. Yeah, that's 101 tactics of extortion, right? That's what we're talking about here, right? So, Eddie Caban has a brother. Eddie Caban it has this Consafrito got his hand in Consafrito. Is there any connection between the commissioner himself and the brother, or is this the brother's behavior? Is the commissioner himself implicated in this?
Oh, absolutely. So Sal Greco has been at the forefront when it comes to showing the implication of Ed Caban, the police commissioner, with his brother, who's actually a twin. He's not identical, but they do look alike. There's a lot of similarities. I mean, if you didn't know them well, you would think it's the same person, which I think is a cloud of suspicion and just looks corrupt on itself. It's definitely a conflict of interest because his brother has a security detail. And, John had said that, right now with this cloud of suspicion, does the police commissioner have access to the intelligence of certain bureaus within one police plaza? And I had made a joke about it because it's the reality. Sometimes jokes actually tell a good story. But I said, right now, the police commissioner's brother with his security detail probably has more access at one police plaza than most cops, because some cop with 2 years on the job, if he sees his brother that looks like him, and we know the commissioner is always traveling and he's not present there, and we're not getting much knowledge of it. If he sees the brother, if a cop sees the brother with a security detail at one police plaza, they're not going to question it. If he says he needs access to a particular location, the cop is going to grant it. And that's why I feel sorry for the boots that are on the ground. But there's definitely an implication that the police commissioner is involved. We see numerous pictures, and again, I said with Sal Greco at the forefront, we see numerous pictures of Ed Caban partying at Consafritos, and Consafritos has had a dark cloud of suspicion over it because we see numerous felons, numerous people that have checkered past partying at Consafritos along with the police department. Now, do I believe everybody deserves a second chance? Absolutely. I know people right now, I don't want to upset anyone from the We the People movement. I believe that everyone deserves a second chance, sometimes a third chance. But there is policy for the police department, which is hypocrisy of why Sal Greco was terminated from the police department. And police officers, any member of the service, anyone in law enforcement, is not supposed to have associations with anyone that is a known felon. And that's problematic. And that's why Sal was wrongfully terminated. So here's an implication. We have the Ed Caban, the police commissioner of the New York City Police Department, and along with Mayor Eric Adams, who claims to be the nightlife mayor, hanging out at Consafritos, which has a dark checkered past because Jimmy Rodriguez, who is the actual de facto, which we believe is the actual owner, not the SLA holder, but the actual owner, has a checkered past of narcotics and suspicion of being involved in murders. And this is who the police department and the politicians are buttoned up to. It's not a good look. The appearance of impropriety is enough to tarnish an image even more than just the actual conviction in itself.
And just to add to that, it's not just the police commissioner's brother that's going around and doing this. Apparently, the other part of the allegation, and there were numerous subpoenas for other top executives inside the NYPD, basically the entire upper echelon of the NYPD, as well as lower ranking commanding officers and bureau and borough chiefs who oversee like Manhattan, Queens, things of that nature. And their phones were also taken because it's being alleged that as this consulting company would encounter problems from their clients, the police commissioner's brother had unfettered access to these other top-ranking officials in the NYPD to squash summonses, to take care of summonses, not just from the New York City Police Department, but it's also being alleged as things relate to the State Liquor Authority, as it relates to building code violations, health violations, as well as, unfortunately, the allegation, and even if the allegation's not there, like they're honing in on it, you have to think that what type of criminality was being covered up. I mean, we all grew up around the same time in the club scene in New York City. I think any club manager at that time, Sound Factory, Limelight, all of these places, they would love to pay $30,000, $40,000, maybe even $100,000 a month to say, all right, we don't want the police department to come anywhere near here. Why? Because there were drugs going on in there. There were things going on in there. So, I mean, it's a large scale, what appears to be a large-scale NYPD corruption scandal that actually could turn out to be the largest corruption scandal in New York City history.
Incredible, incredible, and just watching this all play out because shout out to brother Sal Greco. I'm gonna try to have him on soon as well. You guys have all been working side by side in this awakening of what's happening with the upper echelons of the NYPD, and he's been screaming from the rooftops about Contafrito for the last year. He came on, I believe, in December of 2023, and he wouldn't shut up about it, and here we are today. You guys as well, right? I mean, it's really it's now in the media, right? And people are asking questions. I am seeing that my brother Leroy, I have a relationship with Viral News, brother Leroy. You guys have been going back and forth. I had a chance to speak with him on his position with everything. It's hard to see this because, I have a lot of respect for you guys. I have a lot of respect for him, and to see it get a little muddy online, because I do believe that he loves his city. He's done great work with the migrants, right? I mean, you guys co-signed that, and I just feel like either you guys are wrong or he's wrong when it comes to what's happening with the upper echelons of the NYPD. Either the feds are circling them or they're not, right? He's kind of from like they're looking into this and nothing's going to make of it, where you guys are saying what you just said. This is the biggest corruption in New York City history. Do you see it binary like that or not?
I don't, because I tell you right now, we don't take anything personal. John and I are pretty tolerable of criticism, and we're pretty tolerable of comments. We have plenty of haters. But what do we see from Viral News, right? What do we see from Leroy? I mean, we were very I was very complimented to Viral News numerous times, where I said, hey, listen, this was about a year ago, maybe somewhere more than that. And I said, listen, you really put yourself in some hazardous situations, the amount of information that he discovered, explored with the migrants, these illegal aliens, was quite impressive. And we all alluded to it. And we were very complimentary, very supportive. And we saw that as the NYPD leadership, and this is from our police perspective. He has to understand this is our anecdotal experience. We have police perspective, so we can compare our time in service and now in time in retirement. And we can see that the media is completely blocked out in this administration. It lacks transparency compared to what we've seen before. And we started to see the position of Viral News start to change. We started to see that he started to button up to Eric Adams and also certain members of the upper echelon of the NYPD, where simultaneously, John and I were being attacked by those same people. We were being smeared, and there was slander, libel towards this podcast. But even further than that, members of the police department started to threaten John and myself, and we were tolerable of that, and eventually crossed the line, and the boundary was overdrawn when there was death threats towards our families. And we see Leroy really start to button up with the same people that have a disdain for John and myself for being critical about the upper echelon, about the leadership of the NYPD. So at some point we started to see it. He didn't have the appearance, and I'm giving him an honest opinion. And he didn't have the appearance no longer as a neutral journalist, but more as a deputy commissioner of public information for the NYPD. So I had said that to him. I said, are you still a journalist, or are you a deputy commissioner of public information for the NYPD? The lines are starting to blur. It was not a personal attack. It's an attack on his professional aspects and how he's maneuvering. And he took it completely personal, and he spent hours trying to get information on myself and just completely slandered my name. I'm very tolerable to it. I've been slandered before. And I think that's where he really went in the mud. I think it to me was a sign of weakness, and it showed that he's emotionally invested. And to me, that was indicative that John and I are right, that he is buttoned up to the police department and no longer neutral, because that shouldn't have bothered him. We could have had a professional conversation with it. I think that we're very, we're easygoing, we're congenial, and we're always willing to have conversations. You know what I always say in this podcast? I say opposition meets opportunity. So I'm always willing to have conversations with people in opposition. We even had Cop Watch that had sued me while I was in the police department, trolled me as a police officer, trolled me as a lieutenant, really followed me and smeared my name also. And we had him on the podcast, and we had a great conversation, and we even laughed at the end. So none of this is personal, but I think that as a journalist, I expect neutrality, and I expect him to be transparent and not be clouded because he's buttoned up to the upper echelon of the police department. So with Doug's it does beg the question: are they paying him financially? Are they paying him with access that other media is not getting? Again, it's not personal. He went on a personal attack. I find that to be weak. It looks cheap, and I think it shows a lack of character. And I hope that we could mend that and move forward. I don't have any hatred towards him. I've been smeared already. It doesn't bother me, and it just shows a lack of character. And hopefully, we can all change that and move forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you asked this question because I'm looking at my phone. You guys see me look over, and as, in viral news, New York, as we speak, he's still on the attack. He's still saying that I put out untruthful information. And listen, I got love for Leroy. I got no hard feelings towards him. I honestly, I'm not opposed to. I don't consider him a friend anymore. I don't. And I do think a lot of what he's doing is. He's praising the Adams administration. He's been for a while now. He's taken his independent platform that people respect, and I have a lot of respect for the hard work that he's done and to help build that platform. But I think that he's diminished his platform. I never said it publicly until the attack started, and then I just really do. I think he's done a lot of good things, and he took all his hard work and he gave it to people of truly low integrity. And even at that point, I mean, myself and Eric kind of just let him do what he was doing. We didn't say anything about it. We never went at him, even though he was putting out tweets like this tweet if you like Kaz Daughtry. I mean, what is that? And I'm like, and I'm sorry. It's like to watch you do that. You went from going to an independent journalist to really being a sycophant for this administration when they've done nothing. There's nothing that he could point to or anyone could really point to tell me that they've made any positive change in this city for the New York City Police Department or anything else, other than the fact that Leroy gets unfettered access or potentially even is on the payroll, because none of it makes sense to me. And that's my honest opinion. I call things out honestly, like I see it. I really stayed silent about it for about a year, even though we were being attacked by people who he tells me are good men, people he tells me, they're just like us, when they can't even take the slightest amount of criticism and have weaponized the New York City Police Department against myself, Eric, and the podcast. And I still stayed silent about it then because I like Leroy. And I just hope that, I hope the attacks stop. And like I said, like Eric said, I don't take it personally either. I got no hate for Leroy. I respect the work that he has done, but I do think that he's diminishing himself. And honestly, I think for every attack he continuously brings, and it's still going on right at the second, I think he just diminishes himself further and further. And it's sad to see. It's sad to watch. And to me, it looks like he's the violinist on the Titanic as it going down, and he's made.
I'd be lying, John. I'd be lying to say that I do feel the same way. I expressed that to him on the phone the other day. Would you be willing to have him on the Unfiltered podcast and just having a civil conversation? Because he is very passionate about this administration for whatever reason. I don't know the reason. We kind of stopped talking for about a year. We just caught up recently. But I know that it's either this administration is totally corrupt in everything that we're talking about here, or we're out of our minds. That's the way I see it. I don't see it any other way. All the little tactical things, you said this on this day or whatever, all that to me is minuscule. I'm looking at either they're corrupt, acting like a gang, or they're not, and we're bugging and we're just attacking them. And I do see corruption on my end.
My brother Fuzz, man, I love that you're so congenial and that you want to bring everybody together. And those are those masculine traits that I really respect about you. And I really honor you, because that's what men should do. We should bring together and come together. That's why I coined that phrase, opposition meets opportunity. I mean, if you look at the history of myself and Cop Watch, if you know any of the history, Cop Watch had trolled my career as a lieutenant because I had arrested Jose LaSalle, who was the founder of Cop Watch. And that's really how I became a target from Cop Watch. And I do think there's a connection to the CCRB because they have a big influence in the community. But I was attacked every day. There were memes made about me on a daily basis from Cop Watch. I was attacked. Some of the stuff really crossed the line, and I didn't get support from the police department. It was actually pretty threatening. I did get contacted at some point, a threat assessment unit and they never told me who it was, that there was threats to my home and to several other locations that I had whereabouts. And I can't prove it was Cop Watch. I had my suspicions. but I was told that the threats were pretty serious. But hey, I just want to let everybody know I'm still standing, I'm still proud, and I'm not going away. I'm not a hard guy to find, so if they want to find me, they know where to find me. But with that being said, I don't have anything against viral news, nothing personal. I just think honestly, and I agree with John. I want to piggyback on it. It really diminished his position to come at us with personal attacks. And it really smears his position to say that there's any teeth to his position in support of the upper echelon. Because at no point has he tried to debunk any information that John and I have put out other than little tips of, you said this, you said that. It's very childish in nature. I'm willing to have him on the show at any time. I'm willing to give him a voice. We would always treat him with respect. Now, this is something I believe in. I will treat everyone with respect, but I will not necessarily respect you. I lost all respect for him, to be honest. He will never be a friend to me because of the manner that he moved in. I don't believe that's the traits of a masculine man. He showed a sign of weakness. I think he got completely emotionally invested. And those personal attacks, it really demeans his character. And with that being said, I'll still give a fair assessment. Say he did a great job with the migrants. He continues to do a good job. And what he's exposed is very valuable because I think the problem, the illegal aliens will be here for decades and years to come. But his position, and it sounds like he's a mouthpiece for what we call the Gotham Brothers, because they named themselves that. Kaz Daughtry, the Deputy Commissioner of Operations for New York City Police Department, and John Shell, the Chief of Patrol. You're laughing because it's true. It really clouds his judgment, and I think it really cheapens his position. And his attacks on us has only backfired as he sees we've gotten support. And I think that's why he's continued those attacks, because he's just completely emotionally invested, and it pained him that we're getting support. And at the same time, I think that that they put a battery in him, John Shell and Kaz Daughtry, to continue these attacks. Because I feel if what you're telling me, and if you're a friend of his and you're a friend of mine, that there must be some solace to him and there must be some good left. And if we could get him to just clearly open his eyes and emotionally remove himself from the upper echelon of the NYPD, maybe we can mend that relationship. I won't be a friend of his, but we can show him some respect and have a professional relationship.
Yeah, and he's still going, by the way, right now. My phone, my phone buzzing. It's still going. He's harping on the fact that I put out a tweet that I said that it's rumored that Police Commissioner Ed Caban could step down as early as tomorrow. This was late Sunday night. I put this out, so obviously.
Do you want me to pull it up? You want me to try to pull it up?
If you could pull it up, I mean, I don't think you necessarily need to, because I remember exactly what I wrote. I wrote that it's rumored that NYPD Police Commissioner Ed Caban is going to step down as early as tomorrow. Do you think he should step down, or do you think he should wait it out? So he's saying that Ed Caban's not stepping down tomorrow. Misinformation. Obviously, yesterday he's not stepping down. See, you're a liar. And I'm like, no. If he steps down as early as tomorrow, means if he steps down today, if he steps down on Thursday, if he steps down next week,
right?
Rumors were true. He's like trying to paint it out, and he's still harping on it at this moment in time.
Yeah, he's trying to get you on a technicality,
bro. It's not even a rational argument. It's like if I said something and you want to beat me up, or I said it was wrong, I'll say it was wrong. But I didn't say anything wrong, and like this is what he's harping on, and now he's blocking out like very big accounts that are bigger than his, and he has a very large account. I mean, he has over 100,000 followers. He's blocking accounts that have hundreds of thousands of followers. He's blocking top journalists in New York City. I mean, New York Post, Daily News, Fox News, big publications, and I don't think it's a good look for him, man. I don't. So, yeah, absolutely. I'd be willing to have a respectful conversation if the conversation could stay respectful. But if it's going to be a conversation like that, that's not really a conversation. It's not even honest.
Right.
And so, I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope he continues to do his work. I like I said, I'm not flinching. This is not bothering me. This is that to me. I'm not worried about it. I hold no grudge.
I mean, you guys been dealing with it for a whole year anyway, so it's especially Eric. Just to close on Leroy, brother Leroy, if you do see this, you're always welcome here to give your piece. And there's the open invite. You guys can have a civil conversation. Me and Leroy disagree on a lot privately, and we do it in a gentleman manner. So I know he's very much capable of having a conversation and expressing his views. And that's the only reason I'm even taking this time to talk about it. All right. So, and the last thing I'm going to ask you guys while we're here, I sent you guys a video yesterday, and I just wanted to verify the video of this sheriff that was speaking out in Tennessee, Millersville, Tennessee. If you guys don't mind, I would like to play the 3-minute video. We watch it, and I would love to get your analysis and what you guys think. How's that sound?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, awesome.
I love giving perspective. Let's do it, brother.
Love it, love it. This is the first time he's sharing a video, so just give me 1 second here.
Just make sure you raise the volume.
All right, here we go. Go here, Bink. Yes, we're good to grow.
Hello, everyone. I'm Assistant Chief Sean Taylor with the Millersville Police Department in Middle Tennessee. Many of you may have seen my video last week regarding the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation raiding our police department and my personal residence. They came and they seized evidence regarding corruption that we had locally that tied into corruption nationally, and they took all of our files so that we are unable to complete these cases. The cases that we've been working on affect every American. They affect us in the mortgages, fraudulent mortgages, human trafficking, narcotics trafficking, and many other crimes. We have crisscrossed the United States talking to state attorney generals, senators, congresspeople, and numerous law enforcement officials throughout the United States. We've identified a major corruption that's transnational. It involves the BRICS nations and China and investment companies and fraudulent mortgages on homes here in the United States in very key counties and key states. It goes into the election integrity and fraud, and is creating a geopolitical shift within our political system. This is a multifaceted attack from a foreign adversary who is paying off our local municipal, county, state, and federal politicians to keep from coming to light. We are moving forward with this case in other states and other arenas, even though they have taken our files and our information. This is very important to us. When I say us, I mean we the people. It's time that we the people come together. It's time that we stop allowing ourselves to be segregated by our own government. No matter what race you are, what creed, or what religion you are Americans. We need to stand together as Americans and demand accountability of our elected officials. It's time for this corruption to stop and for us to have our country back so that we know we leave it in the good hands to our children, our grandchildren, because if we don't stand up and do this, we will no longer have a country to hand over to them. I'd like to send a special thanks out to Mark Fincham. He wrote a very good article that all of you can go and read at yournews.com regarding the information that I'm talking about tonight. One of the things that happened that really upsets me that the TBI did at my residence was they urinated in my bathtub and tracked urine throughout my home. To me, that was the government saying, piss on you, America. And that's not okay. It's time to stand up, unify, come together peacefully, and demand accountability. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. What do you guys think?
I'm still trying to figure out how to turn the computer on, dude. I am like a caveman when it comes to the internet.
Yeah, I mean, you want to go first, Marco?
I don't care. I'm blown away by that.
Don't get bashful now, fellas.
All right, no. I'll go first. So first off, I just want to say I don't know the context of these cases. I do, if you're talking about an international case, I do think that the feds are going to come in and take that case away from you. So let's clear that air. And I don't know if he was told to hand those cases over prior, and he didn't, and he continued to investigate anyway, because that Tennessee state sheriff doesn't really have the investigative or arrest of power authority to be able to effectively handle that case. So I think it is something that needs to be done on a federal level. So, and I don't know the pre-context of that. Should he have had his home raided and his offices raided? Again, I don't know the backstory. If he wasn't willing to hand the case over, possibly I could justify that in my head that, you know what, it's a national security threat. You're unable to, we need the information that you have to push forward. Because we do see in law enforcement often people are glory hounds and they do want to be the person to bring everything down. I'm not saying that this was the case here, but there's a lot of context missing. However, if a law enforcement officer got a warrant from a Supreme Court judge or a federal judge or whatever judge they went in front of to come in and enter your home, take away your constitutional right, and that law enforcement officer pissed in your bathtub, I'm saying right now, not only should they be terminated, they should be arrested and charged as well. They should lose everything they have and never be able to exercise any type of authority over any American citizen whatsoever. So I'm not excusing anything that happens. I am saying, though, that I don't believe that his office would be able to properly investigate an international drug ring. They could help. I don't know how the information has. And again, I don't know why the feds came in and took that information. There's a lot of context missing. But if somebody pissed in this guy's bathtub, they should immediately be removed from their position and terminated immediately.
I was blown away by that video. I really was. I was like, wow, there's a lot to peel back. There's a lot of layers in the information provided in that 3-minute video. So I like to make the comparison to the alleged corruption and this FBI probe in this particular case to what's going on with New York City that surrounds Mayor Eric Adams and also the police department. Because so John and I were on an X Space last night with Cafecito break, and I had came in late, and John was already talking, and I was shocked by the conversation. So I don't want to name the person, but there was someone on the X Space that had said to John that he believes this is pretty much like a political hit job, that because of position of Eric Adams when it came to the migrant crisis, that it was an opposition to the Biden administration, and that's why he was being attacked, and that's why the level of corruption when it came to these licensed premise consulting firm based on the brother to the police commissioner of the New York City Police Department that's why it was exposed. So what he was kind of alluding to was that this is a threshold of corruption that we allow or we can overlook, and the only reason it was exposed is because of the political hit on Eric Adams. And John and I both agreed we don't believe that's the case at all with New York City. We believe that there's just a dark cloud on Mayor Eric Adams, along with his circle, his selective choices of who he's appointed in particular positions, and also with the leadership he's appointed of New York City Police Department. Based on the evidence that we have and the perspective that we given, we believe the preponderance of evidence shows that we are dealing with a level of corruption when it comes to New York City Police Department at the upper echelon, not the rank and file, and also Mayor Eric Adams. Now, comparison with this, again, John made a great point here. There's no context here. There's a lot of context missing. So I do suspect, right, if this is a political hit job, right, Tennessee, we know Tennessee is a red state, and the police department is operating on red in comparison to what we see from the New York City Police Department that has completely woke, and the New York City Police Department at the upper echelon is pandering to this woke movement. And so what I see based on this, I'm just going to make my assumption, is that it's more red and they're leaning more conservative. So we don't know what the cases are. We don't know if this particular sheriff stumped upon some level of corruption, and now that corruption has to be hidden at the federal level. And I hope that's not the case, because if that's the case, that's scary of what could be going on in this country. But at the same token, I'm going to side with John and piggyback on this. You know, if there is some cop that signed off on information and brought that to a judge and then also pissed in the tub there, it's absolutely disgusting. He's violated his oath, and absolutely forget about termination. He should be in jail also. And I think that's one thing that really separates John and myself from other law enforcement perspective, is we're not going to tell you hide behind the blue wall. We're not going to tell you hug a cop, thank a cop, back the blue. We do back good police officers, but we also give fair perspective and assessment on bad police work also. So there is a lot of context information, but what he's saying, if it's true, it's scary. Do I believe that this police department has that access? Probably not. I mean, what we see in small towns throughout this country, the FBI does get involved in a lot. We have different bureaus in different counties and different cities, unlike the New York City Police Department, which 5 counties make up the city, and we have a different vast political movement. We have city council. It's different. It's different moving parts of the municipality. But what he says there is important. He says we the people. So it's nice to see that law enforcement also says we are the people. And that's something that we always express to you, right, Fuzz? Is that, yes, 100%. We were cops, but we are also people also.
I was trying to, so when I watched that video, right, because like you said, there's so many pieces to it. And it just is this reoccurring thing of like what we see with Hochul and the person in her cabinet having the connection to the CCP. We're hearing about the farmland being gobbled up. And for me, right, on my end, I want it to be local. I want states' rights and any area being controlled. But like John said, if there is a country that is not waging war with guns, but war with buying property and stuff like that, that becomes a bigger issue. And then the second part to that is if our administration, the current administration, is allowing that to happen, that could be maybe, right? We're in the gray area here. We're speaking in a gray area here. Why the feds are behaving the way they are, and the sheriff is trying to keep control locally, right? At the same time, this could be all saber rattling. Like it could be all, to scare the people on what's going on for whatever reason. It seems like there's a personal issue there with the pissing in the tub. My concerns more are that the American people are going to find out that we have a very big problem on our hands, and we're already at war with China. And how many times are we going to hear in different states about them gobbling up property? California's big. Arizona's big. We're seeing that there were precincts in New York that were taken down, that were owned by the CCP. And now we're hearing our governor of New York. Do you guys believe we are already at some type of proxy war or war with China currently?
I mean, we're definitely in an economic war with the rest of the entire world, not just China at this point. And we've been forever. So this is nothing new. The fact that our country's allowing other nations to come in and gobble up land, that's more of a concern to me than anything that's going outside. I think we need to clean up our house first. But yeah, I mean, as far as an information war, as far as an economic war, we've never not been. Not since any of us have been alive, and not 100, 200 years before us. We're at war every day in this country, economically, information. So it's nothing new. But again, just looking at that video at the front of it, there's a lot of unanswered questions that I have. And like you said, it appears to be personal. And again, I don't think he has the proper ability to investigate the claims that he's making anyway. So there's a lot missing there. So the video leaves me at the video. It doesn't leave me asking more questions. It leaves me at the video where I want to know a lot of different answers before I could actually make an assessment on it. But yeah, I think 100% this country's under attack every day. This is the apple of the eye. I do believe this is the land of milk and honey.
Absolutely. I think at this point, the biggest thing I think that's problematic that's going on in this country, I think that we have a level of treason going on in the country right now. And that's why there's an information war. I think there's an extreme amount of information that's being leaked to China. And I think China is right now trying to transition their currency to ultimately just crush the US dollar. And absolutely, we see that going on right now. We see it through their own currency. We see it right now through cryptic coins, right? We see it through Bitcoin. We see it through Ethereum. We see it through other channels. I think that absolutely the real estate mogul of China is definitely intercepted, especially in New York City, especially with the Great Escape in New York City. They're taking complete advantage of it right now. I have to piggyback and agree with you, John, that absolutely, just based with this sheriff and based on his level of expertise and the knowledge that he has and the abilities and capabilities, the limited capabilities that they have at that level, I do believe that we don't have enough questions to even actually intercept or find out what's going on in China. But I do think the problem lies really with the politicians. And if we look at some of the politicians, right, especially you mentioned Governor Hochul, and along with the aid, the amount of information that's provided to China, I do believe that's a level of treason. And I think you and I spoke about it. And I think that's the problem right now. We have a level of treason that's going on in the country. So we're infected within that's providing information to China. So we have to find the people that have interest with China that are in this country, and they have to be held accountable. And not just terminated from their employment. They need to be arrested and held accountable because they are creating an environment where this country is just being further weakened. And it's all happening economically. I think it's happening on two fronts. It's happening economically, and I do think it's happening through information.
You know, we're in exciting times, guys. And what's happening in New York, the reason I even showed that video is just it was very similar to what's kind of happening in New York on different levels, right? And in our case, we're hoping the FBI does good. In his case, he thinks the FBI is bad, right? And that's kind of the FBI, right? Like that's kind of the FBI. That's kind of the pulse on it from the people. It's like if they're going after somebody you like, then you're for them, and if it's against the people, then we hate the FBI. It's just the way it is. Guys, with everything going on with the upper echelons NYPD, are there any final words you guys have for the rank and file? I try to do that each show, because I know you guys, I know you guys personally. You guys are my brothers, I vouch for you guys. I don't vouch for many people in this movement. You guys are towing such a line in this movement because in one hand, you have to critique the NYPD, and in the other hand, you have to show that you guys are backing the rank and file. Well, what are some last words you can give to the rank and file if they are watching?
Eric, you want to go?
I'll take a stab at it, sure. So, again, we support the overwhelming majority of the rank and file of the police department. They're in a precarious position. They're doing what they're paid and trained to do, and they operate based on the crime conditions and the trends that are happening in New York City. They're making an extreme amount of arrests right now because crime is just out of control. And unfortunately, they don't have the ability to actually create legislation. They're operating under the legislation that's been provided. And the legislation that's been provided has tailored back and really handicapped them from doing their job, particularly when it comes to being a sanctuary city for New York. And the fact that it's a sanctuary city, to me, is a blanket of protection for illegals because the police officers are making arrests and they're full aware of when someone's illegal. And I'm sure they're getting that information in conversations, probably spontaneous utterance from the actual person being arrested. And it's also indicative of where they're being arrested, the manner that they're operating. We're seeing a lot of third world crime. And unfortunately, the police department's handicapped because of legislation, the politicians, the upper echelon of the police department, and they cannot provide this information, work with their federal partners. They cannot provide the information to ICE or any federal entity. And this was an executive order by former Mayor Bill de Blasio. And Eric Adams is not supporting them because he hasn't shown opposition to that executive order. And with the sleight of a pen, he could fix that. Again, the police department, they're doing the job as best as they can do. And again, John and I are very supportive in a sense that we give fair assessment. Sometimes we have videos where it comes down to force and we break it down. And you said you were impressed. We broke a video down together and we really dissect to show what's going on there. And, we give kudos to the police officers when they do a good job. And we look at the totality of circumstances. And when there's mistakes made, we also critique that as well. And it's not to discipline them and to shun them. It's to make them better. We want the best police department that we could have so that we support the people. And I appreciate you. We always talking about, do the police officers understand when they take an oath of supporting the Constitution? I know John and I both understood that. I took pride in studying these Supreme Court cases. And you and I even spoke about it. We talked about stop, question, frisk. And when we identified behavioral indicators that I had to detain someone under the case of People versus DeBoer. So we encourage them to have an extreme amount of knowledge. And again, I support the police officers. Even right now with this probe of corruption, I hope that it doesn't affect them. I do believe that it creates a lack of trust and credibility with the community, and it makes it more dangerous for them. So we support them, absolutely. And we could continually critique them so that they just get better and better.
Yeah, so my message to the rank and file, obviously you guys see how much shit that me and Eric get every day. A lot of attacks for really saying a lot of the things that a lot of you agree with. I mean, there's always nuances to the conversation. There's going to be disagreements, but a lot of the stuff that we say really is the sentiment of the majority. and we're heavily attacked for it. And, as much as I support you guys, I'm gonna be a little brutally honest. That you guys don't speak your truth. And, I'm guilty of that when I was on the job. Eric, I believe you were guilty of it when you were on the job as well. I think we all are, I think everybody, Sal Greco, I could say, was probably guilty of it too. Everybody, we don't really speak our truth. We didn't hone in on the issues, and we didn't, we let ourselves be demonized for about a 12-year period. I know I did in my career. About 12 years of my career, I allowed a lot of demonization and untruths to fester in my own workplace. Outside of work, I was outspoken. I said it. You approach me at a party, you start talking nonsense, I'll shoot you right down, But like in work, I allowed a lot of things to fester, and I signed my name on trainings that I didn't agree with, and I didn't say anything, and I put my head down. And I think that your voice is much bigger than you. I think that all of our voices are much bigger than us. I relate this to Jonah in the Bible. Jonah is given a message from God to go to the enemy and tell them that if they don't change their ways, God's going to destroy the town. And Jonah's sitting there saying, this is crazy. I'm not doing that. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my pension. I'm going to lose my career. I'm going to the enemy. I can't do that. But his conscience was beaten on him. His conscience was beaten on him. And to me, that's the truth, right? That's your truth. That's the truth. That's the message that God's putting in your head. So Jonah tries to escape that. He gets brought down to the depths of hell, right? He gets thrown overboard. He goes down. A huge beast from the depths of hell grabs him, puts him in the belly of the beast for 3 days, and he repents. They shoot him back out, and he repents, and he goes to the town. He follows his conscience, and he follows what God told him to say, right? Because your thoughts are not yours, and they're much bigger than yours. They're much bigger than you. So he goes to that town, and he ultimately, even though he's the enemy, he somehow gets enough influence to get in front of the king, and the king sees that everything that they've been doing is actually wrong and believes Jonah and says, I believe this is a truthful message, and the town changed their ways, and ultimately the town isn't destroyed. And ultimately they become into God's favor and they prosper. So to me, speaking your truth is much bigger than you. If you don't speak your truth, there will be thousands, maybe millions who suffer because the idea that God put in your head never got brought out into the world, because it was given to you and you only. So as much as I respect the fact that you put that uniform on, I don't think any single one of us are heroes, not one person. And I think that all you guys, you really got to start honing in. When your union's not speaking up for you, you got to speak up for you. We just had Officer Juan Perez on. He came on, he spoke his truth. And I think, I just want to empower you to be yourselves. Integrity is a hard thing. And sometimes integrity means you have to walk away from your career to hold on to it. But it's a non-negotiable in policing. And I don't think enough of you understand and respect that.
Fuzz, can I add something?
Yeah, that was powerful. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, that was
please do. That was powerful, brother.
That's what I just wanted to say. I'm not a religious person, and I say that constantly, but I believe in fate. And I want to say that message about Jonah is powerful. And the more I talk with John, it makes me want to read the Bible. I'm Jewish, but I'm not religious. Kind of into Buddhism a little bit. I got into it living out in Asia, but hearing that story about Jonah, I heard it several times. Really makes me want to read the Bible, especially it's a great. That's why it's a good message for the cops to understand. Like for me personally, I spent 6 years in the Marine Corps. I came home from Iraq, and I immediately joined the police department. And I never looked into the politics of things. I didn't even realize that I was in a political arena until I was almost forced out in retirement, because I was so fun doing the job. And I spent 6 years in the Marine Corps, and I was always told, just do what you're told and don't ask any questions, because you could get someone killed, and unfortunately what I learned is that's good and it's necessary at times. But I think at this point in my life, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and you have to be willing to speak out, because sometimes the leadership is just inadequate and is politically appointed, and they're not there for the right reasons. And so we need good men to stand up. And I never realized that, and I wish there was a John and Eric and a Fuzz to educate me when I was young. Like, listen, you're in a political arena. I never knew it. Honestly, when I realized, it was too late for me. I already had 8 sets of administrative charges for the Civilian Complaint Review Board in a 6-week period. I'm like, how did I get here? And I didn't realize I was a political pawn in this game, and now I know it. So I thank you guys. Thank you so much for saying that, John, about Jonah and Fuzz. I know you're a religious man also, and I really commend you guys for that. I think it's honorable, and I thank you.
And Fuzz, not to steal your show, but just one more thing I just want to say.
Please do, brother. It's all yours.
I just want to say, for years I was bought into the mission of the NYPD, and I loved it. And there was a saying on my old Special Operations Lieutenant's wall, and it was from General Patton, and it said, "I'm a soldier. I fight where I'm told. I win where I fight." And I held that statement true. I took that through the ranks with me as I moved up. I'm a soldier. I fight where I'm told. I win where I fight. And things started turning, man, politically. And I ripped that saying up and I threw it in the garbage because I just kept sitting with me one day, and I sat there and I said, well, I no longer believe in this mission. I no longer believe in the mission of the New York City Police Department. I don't like the direction we're going. I don't believe the laws that are being passed from the New York City Council and the things that my leadership is buttoning up to. And I'm like, at some point, I just wasn't that soldier anymore, and I didn't do that any longer. And then ultimately, by following my conscience and actually standing behind my words and the thoughts and the what God had given me in my head, what he shows me daily and what he puts in my mouth and my brain. Cause I truly don't believe, everybody always asks me, where do you find the content? And I'm like, I don't find my content. It just comes to me. And I'm not lying about it at all. I don't put any work into finding anything. It just comes to me. And ultimately what I realized is that I'm going to put that saying back up on my wall because I am a soldier. I fight where I'm told, and I'm going to win where I fight, but I'm not a soldier for another man. I'm going to be a soldier for Christ. And that's what it is. It's something bigger than yourself,
Wow. Powerful, man. And, watching, getting to know you gentlemen, bro, it's watching the growth and the message, and, we're all learning from each other, man. And it's been a great honor. It's been a great honor to watch the evolution of your podcast. If you guys don't know, they are the pulse of New York right now. The Finest Unfiltered is where it's at. These men are not on a crusade to attack anybody. They're not on a witch hunt. This is not what you called it before, John? Glory hounding? What was that saying?
Yeah, glory hound,
I never heard that. I like that one, bro.
You never heard that before?
I never heard that. I like it.
That's a huge thing in the police department. Yeah, we still use it, man. When people are chasing that fame and they're chasing that fortune, it's glory hunts.
And this is not what it is. They generally are retired. They don't have to waste their breath on New York anymore. They can tell stories. There's a whole culture, guys, of police officers, retired police officers talking online with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of viewers talking about stories. And they can go on tour telling their stories of the NYPD and not even touch New York, but instead they are taking their time, talent, and treasure to expose the upper echelon to New York because they care about the people of New York. So it's very admirable. And when we get these perp walks, when you guys see everything that these men, including Sal Greco, have been saying come to light, you will see the work that they put in, not only with the shield, but when the shield was off them. So I just want to say thank you guys ahead of time for everything you guys are doing for our city. We appreciate you here at the Mighty Fuzz Podcast. And if you guys could just put your handles where people can follow you.
Oh, absolutely. I just want to say before I put the handles again, I don't want to steal your thunder from your show.
Oh, go for it, bro. Go for it.
But I love John's wall. It's awesome. But for me, I was leader of the Finest, lieutenant of the year. I got a proclamation from the borough. And right now my wall's been empty. Eventually I'm going to start putting stuff on it. It's been empty for a while because it's metaphoric for me. And the reason why is because those were just possessions, but my memories are forever. And when I left the police department, I felt like, what? I don't need these accolades. And like John said, I'm not a hero. I did the job that I was presented with. A mother. Mothers, they're heroes. They're, for the job that they do every day, taking care of their children. So every award I had, I tell you the truth, I took a garbage can. I was cleaning my office. They offered me a walkout, where they clap for you when you leave. I said, I don't want that. I don't want to walk out. I just want to leave. I just want to retire. And that's what I did. I retired. I took a large garbage can and I threw out everything in my office, including my awards, because the memories are my heart. And I just want to say that. So please, thank you everyone for watching. Support Mighty Fuzz, man. You are such a great guy, dude. Awesome. I hope that we actually hang out in person. So check us out, New York's Finest Unfiltered Podcast. We're on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Apple. We go live every morning, 8:05 Eastern Time, 5:05 Pacific Time. Check me out, Most Complained Cop, Eric Dim Cop. I'm on Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it these days, Instagram. And it's been a great crusade, and I couldn't be happier to partner up with John. We're kind of like a yin and yang. It works out great. It's a good flow, and and I'm so happy that we're on this path. And if it wasn't this path, we wouldn't get to meet you. So I do believe everything happens for a reason, and you guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and then I use my name, John D. Macari, for everything. We're at the Finest Unfiltered on YouTube, on Rumble. We go live at 08:05 Eastern Time. Eric's on the West Coast, so he goes live 05:05 for those of you on the West Coast. And yeah, no, I mean, so give us a shout out. I use my own name, whatever handles. If you plug my name in, it's what am I on? I'm on Instagram, I'm on X. Those are the two main platforms I use. We're on Apple, Spotify, at the Finest Unfiltered, or New York's Finest Retired and Unfiltered Podcast. It has been growing significantly, man. So like I notice now, if you just put New York's, we come up right, and I've been thankful for all the friends and all the listeners we have, and and that's it, bro. We're gonna keep rocking on. Appreciate you for propelling our voice and always being a friend to us, and it was a pleasure, and we'll do it again.
Let's do it, guys. Thanks for the update. Thanks for your time. Mighty Fuzz Podcast, and we out.